Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the GM. It is your guy Boulanger. We in here tonight, going live, talking about Lamar Jackson, the Buffalo Bills, the Ravens, what happened, what didn't happen, and why it keeps happening. That being losing to the Buffalo Bills with a level of consistency. And so totally forgot, man. This is like the first Monday night football. So I totally forgot that Monday night football was tonight. Or I wouldn't even have chose to go live tonight. I would have went live tomorrow morning. So man, we're gonna get in and out pretty quick tonight. But let's just get into it, right? Um, why does this thing keep happening to the Baltimore Ravens when they go up to Buffalo? Right? You guys know I said later last week or late last week that Lamar Jackson has had some trouble with three teams consistently. That was in division rival Pittsburgh Steelers, that was the Kansas City Chiefs, and then that has now become the Buffalo Bills. And especially the Buffalo Bills when we go to their house, right? The Baltimore Ravens had not been close playing the Kansas City Chiefs. It's 1-5 in the Lamar Jackson era. Lamar Jackson is just beginning to try and even the score with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's 4-5 against them now. And then with last night's loss to the Bills, he's now 4-3 against the Bills and 0-3 when he faces them at home. And last night's loss, man, basically guarantees that if we see them in the playoffs, it's going to be where? Buffalo, which has now become the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson's house of horror. Many people have said that Lamar Jackson played great last night, played at an elite level last night. And I'm gonna step off the cliff a little bit, and I'll do that by myself. And I'll say I thought that he played very well, not great. Okay. Because I thought that there was some decisions that he made um, that I thought were costly. One of the biggest ones was the 15-yard sack. I thought that Lamar Jackson was intent on making plays last night, whereas sometimes he should just get rid of the ball. I thought that there was a couple of different times that he was Houdini in the pocket and got out of what was potentially sacks. And that's fine. We know that that's common for him. We know that he can do things like that with a high level of success. But we've learned as an offense to live and die with those type of plays. And I think that is part of what our problem is. We've learned to depend on Lamar Jackson's spectacular, right? And when he doesn't pull off the spectacular, this Baltimore Ravens team doesn't go, specifically the offense. A kind of a case in point last night when he scrambled back probably 15, 20 yards, got out of harm's way, avoided two sacks, and then he went for 19 yards. He probably covered about 70 yards on that play, give or take, and ended up with a 19-yard gain. And I think it was the next play where Derrick Henry broke for the 47-yard touchdown, which you thought that would have put the game away. But of course, we understand that it did not. And I think that those are the type of things we've learned as a coaching staff, as an offense, as a fan base to rely on Lamar Jackson doing the spectacular. And I think that the spectacular should be something that we lean into when he has to pull it out. But I think our problem is he's always having to pull it out. So the spectacular has become a staple of this Baltimore Ravens offense. But that's not even what I came here to talk to you guys about. What I came to talk about is why I think the Baltimore Ravens keep faltering against the Bills, and in previous times the Steelers and also the Kansas City Chiefs, especially when led by Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson's mentality is a little bit off. And what I mean by a little bit off is that he's such a nice guy. He's such a good dude. And that's not a flaw. That's not a person flaw. But sometimes it can get in the way of what happens from the locker room to the field to the press conference back to the locker room. And what I mean is he doesn't have that mentality to where he could just snatch somebody, right? And I don't mean a physical snatching, although if it needed to be, maybe, but I'm talking about the type of mentality where you're going to settle for nothing less but somebody else's excellence. I don't think he has that for the coaching staff, and I don't think he has that for his um, teammates. Does he expect it? Yeah, certainly he wants the best from them. He wants the best for them. But I don't think he commands their best. That's why I think they can show up and do some things and he never really call it out. That's why the coaches can very, very blatantly do silly stuff, make silly calls, have poor game management, make poor play calls that he has to figure out. And then when they don't come to pass, then he has to just excuse those things in the post game press conference. And last night's loss was alarming to me in the fashion that we lost. I'm not surprised that we lost, but it was alarming in the ho hum response, right? Nobody seemed to be mad. Harbaugh didn't seem to be mad. Lamar didn't seem to be mad. Kyle Hamilton didn't seem to be mad. And I think that it's settling in that this is commonplace. See, when you come to see something that's normal, what you pissed off about? If you start seeing something as, oh well, this always happens, then it's not going to catch you off guard. You're not going to be frustrated about it, and you're not going to call somebody out on the carpet. And Lamar Jackson's post-game press conference kind of spoke that to me last night. So let's take a listen, and then we'll talk about it as we go.
Up by 15, I'm sure you felt like you had the game in hand, and then you ultimately lose.
Man, you just got to finish the game. It's never over until it's 0-0 on the clock. We found that out tonight.
Now, the question was, is it frustrating not to finish the game? And he said, yeah, got to just play to 0-0 on the clock. And I found that out tonight. Now, maybe that's just a misspeak. Maybe I'm leaning too much into that. But there's absolutely no way Lamar Jackson didn't know that they got to play it all the way out to 0-0 on the clock. There's no way. But I don't hear any vitriol. I don't hear any vigor in his voice. I just hear a player who just lost a game as if it was just a regular matchup. Yes, it is a regular season game, but it was a big game, MVP against MVP. And when Josh Allen walked off the field, everybody knew in the stadium, everybody knew in the NFL that he played like that guy. And if nothing else, we've heard Lamar Jackson in other games talked about how ticked off he was in post-game press conferences, how he was frustrating, how he was frustrated, how he was pissed off. But this game in particular, last night, it was just like, hey, we lost. And I think it's that kind of mentality that will keep us out of the Super Bowl long term. But let's listen to a little bit more.
Up by 15, I'm sure you felt like you had the game in hand, and then you ultimately lose.
Man, you just got to finish the game. It's never over until it's 0-0 on the clock. We found that out tonight.
Lamar, did you have a say on that 4th and 3 yard where you coaches there at all?
No, I was cramping, so that's why I pretty much jogged out the field. Because if I wasn't, everybody here know I would have been trying to go for a foot.
So to kind of highlight why John Harbaugh didn't go for it on the 4th and 3, Lamar Jackson says that he was cramping, and that's why he just jogged off the field. Now, part of my problem with that statement is not that he was cramping, but part of my problem is that, and I mentioned this earlier, that the Baltimore Ravens on the sideline in close proximity and in easy access has a full medical staff and a full training staff. Now, where's the hydration, right? Where is the fruit, the potassium, those kind of things to keep the cramps at a minimum, right? Because Lamar Jackson is known for cramping. And so we didn't have none on deck. right? Lamar Jackson didn't communicate that he was cramping. You see, I think that the mentality that we have is, I'm just gonna make something happen. We're gonna get out of here with this win. But no, we got to communicate, Lamar. You got to be talking to the coaches, talking to the training staff, talking to the medical staff, and letting them know what's going on so they can keep you ready for game action, right? Because think about it. He said, I was cramping. That's why I didn't campaign to go for it on 4th and 3. Well, daggone. What if he had been ready to go? How could the game have turned out? We can't afford to listen. This season, this schedule is so crazy. We can't afford to give away games, nor can we afford to give away possessions. And so I think the mentality is just a little off. It's a little, I guess you call it lackadaisical. That's what I would call it.
But yeah, Lamar, the offense was so dynamic in the first half. You have to watch on time. What changed, especially? And I know you had the touchdown grab in the fourth quarter, but what changed with the offense for the third?
We just kept getting off the field. That's pretty much it. We should have kept converting when we should have, when we needed to. Obviously, just got to do better. Like Coach said, we got the Browns next week, so we got to shift to them. Mindset got to shift to the Browns.
You have a couple of these, losing the fourth quarter, you get like 2 scores the last few years.
Yeah.
What you kind of feel about what's the pattern there, and how do you feel about that first thing that happened in your records?
I don't really know about the pattern part, but all I know is when we up in the fourth quarter, like I said, the game is not over until it's 0-0-0 o'clock, and you just got to keep converting on third downs or whatever, keep putting points on the board as much as we could.
And so I appreciate what he's saying. What he's saying is true. Just got to keep putting points on the board. We got to play to 0-0-0 on the clock. But at this point in his career, at this point in his acclaim, this point in his stardom, we need more. We need to hear more from Lamar Jackson. We need to hear him speak about what needs to be done. Something beyond, hey, we kept getting off the field. We need to hear more than just, hey, gotta score some more points, because those things are easy to recognize. But I think in order for this Ravens team to get to where it has to go, it is going to be on the legs, the arm, and the back of Lamar Jackson. But I think it's going to be from a leadership mentality. I'm not talking about he has to go out there and be rah-rah, hooping and hollering and butting heads like Tom Brady used to do. But I do think his mentality has to be raised. It does need to go to a higher level of aggression. I do believe he's an ultimate competitor. But these responses just seemed like this was just another loss.
Well, I guess this Ravens defense all summer, how surprising was it to see them struggle to play pretty good?
I mean, it was the first game of the season. I'm very, I'm going to be surprised just because I feel like our defense is the best in the league, but everything not going to be perfect. Like I said, beginning of the season, we got a lot of season left.
Can you put that in context, that it's week 1 versus not the end of the season as it was the last time?
Yeah, absolutely. Our defense held them to like 20-some points last time. They got a lot of things went their way, a lot of momentum shifts happened for them, and I feel like that's why things like that happen. But shout out to Bills, because they did a great job capitalizing.
Lamar Bill said that fan that you had an interaction with you, I checked it. You kind of explain what you felt yourself.
He slapped me. I seen him slap D-Hop, but I wasn't really. He slapped me, and he's saying he's talking. So I just forgot where I was for a little bit, But you gotta think in those situations. We got security out there, let security handle it. But I just let my emotion get the best of me. But hopefully it don't happen again. I hope.
But see, that's the kind of emotion we need him to show towards his teammates. And last night they did a pretty good job with penalties for the most part. But when there's jumping off sides, when there's missed blocks, when there's dropped balls, when there's missed assignments, we need him the same type of aggression he had for the fan who was not in the game. Yeah, I get that D-Hop was slapped, Lamar Jackson got slapped, or whatever the situation may have been. But that same level of aggression, we need him to turn that into his team or towards his team so that they can see that he's serious. They're only going to go as far as he is going to go. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that when we get done listening to this audio. The Baltimore Ravens team, what happens on the field is only going to go as Lamar Jackson can lead them, not by play, but by example, both in the locker room, on the field, on the bus, on the plane. They're going to look at Lamar Jackson, and however serious Lamar Jackson is, that's how serious they're going to be. If Lamar Jackson is relaxed, no big deal, lackadaisical, then the other teammates are going to feel like, well, shoot, if the superstar, the quarterback, number 8, if he can be kind of relaxed, then you know what? We can afford to do the same thing. But the truth is, they can't. Lamar Jackson can do things on the football field nobody else can. They can't. So they got to be optimal in their role every single chance. So his level of intensity, I think, has to be raised to another level.
I learned from that.
Lamar, will you not maybe go that close to the visiting side? That's the visiting fans.
No, because I've never seen our fans do that. So no, I'll probably do it again. We score a touchdown, but it's not nothing against the fans.
Right.
Just celebrate my teammates winning a touchdown.
Did Bills show anything different? Did they surprise you with anything defensively this evening?
Bills be the Bills. They're going to disguise defense. They're going to disguise their pressures and hold certain coverages and stuff like that. So. I just pretty much studied those guys, and I felt like we had a pretty good idea of what they was going to run today, and I feel like we capitalized. Yeah.
Lamar, excuse me. You guys talked for months about holding on to the ball,
Yeah,
not making these mistakes late in the game, and here you are summing up another game where you guys made mistakes and cost yourself the lead. How disappointing is it, and what do you think it's going to take for you guys to nip some of these games in the ball where you're losing fourth quarter leads?
I mean, a lot of things go on in the game, man. It was 4 minutes left. Our guys were trying to hold on to the ball and trying to, milk the clock as much as we could, because that's a great offense over there as well. And things just happened, It's not like any one of the guys tried to. They were trying to hold on to the ball as much as they could, but it just worked in the Bills' favor.
And so what Lamar Jackson is saying right there, but he didn't say it, is that, you know what? Our defense played like some trash. They couldn't stop them. They couldn't stop the Bills. So we knew that we had to try and milk the clock. That's what he's trying to say without saying it. But you know what? What if he just said it? What if he just said, you know what? Our defense didn't play that well tonight. Our defense couldn't get off the field. Our defense couldn't give us an extra possession. What if? What if he just said that? Do you know how resounding that would be? That Lamar Jackson actually calls out something that went wrong instead of sweeping it under the rug. But see, the thing is, sweeping it under the rug just makes the lump under the rug gets bigger. And now, everything that has been swept under the rug, everything that has been hidden under there, they're now tripping over. Everything that has not been called out, every piece of lack of execution, every wrong route, every missed block is now coming back to haunt them. And I think, again, this is going to start with Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson's attitude may be spilling over from the head coach because the head coach has the same type of attitude. A kind of, well, we'll get him next time. There's always the next game. And sometimes, guys, just like in Buffalo in 2025, back in January, there was no more games. Just like in January, I believe, January 2024, up in it was in Baltimore in that 2023-2024 playoff. There was no more games. And so I think the mentality has to switch. It has to be increased. But let's finish it up right here.
How do you, because this is the emotional loss. How do you lose like that?
Yeah.
How do you keep it from, having it end here and not letting it spill over into the next game?
Probably let it linger for the night, because we all hate losing on our team, I feel like anybody who playing a competitive sport gonna hate losing, but probably let it linger tonight and then forget about it because we're gonna have to get prepared for the Browns, the divisional rival.
Two more from you.
Mark, what do you have to say to Derek after the night that he had and also that crucial fumble late?
I told him, let that go, man. He done did enough for us. You scored 80 yards, 50 yards one time, caught another one. Like he was just going off, but things happen. Fortunately, it just happened at the wrong time, but I'm not going to knock him for that. Like, I fumbled in the playoffs. Like, he knows, so it is what it is, man.
And that right there, that last statement is why I say his mentality has to change. And if he keeps this mentality, they will not win a Super Bowl. You cannot say he's got to let that go. And I told him, hey, I've fumbled in the playoffs before. And he knows that. So that makes it better. You do bad, I do bad, so we do bad together. That makes it okay? No. He has to be able to go to Derrick Henry and say, listen, man, I know you didn't mean to fumble, but you got to hold on to the rock in that situation. Something simple as that. You see, here's the truth. Nobody on this roster, none of the 53 other than Cal Van Noy, who does not have a huge voice because he was never really a big name. He doesn't have any star power, no cachet. Good player, but no cachet. But nobody on this Ravens team has ever won anything. None. Lamar Jackson is the most decorated athlete on this team, from the Heisman Trophy to MVPs to all pros to all of those other attributes and acclaim that he has attained. He's the most decorated. And I guess Derrick Henry will be the second most decorated. But no, he has to be able to step to Derrick and say, look, man, we're trying to win a chip. And when it's crunch time like that, we can't put the ball on the ground. It don't matter if he fumbled in the playoffs before. We know that he fumbled in 2 straight playoffs. But that's not anything to hang a hat on, and that's not anything to just kind of pass off the Derrick Henry fumble. I understand Daniel Falele got beat. The right side was getting beat all night. And the guy who came through Daniel Falele hit Derrick Henry as soon as he got the ball. But when that ball touches your hands, you have to be able to keep it secured. And so, man, I'm looking at this Ravens team as we close because it's time to go watch the football game. But I'm looking at this Ravens team. And it's amazing that here we are this deep into Lamar Jackson's tenure with the Ravens. This second year of the connection between Jackson and Derrick Henry. The third season under Todd Monken's offensive leadership. 4 of 5 starters return the offensive line. What was said to be the best wide receiving group or talent group that Lamar Jackson has ever played with. What was said to be a loaded team from top to bottom continues to wet the bed. And so now it's time to see what they're going to do in Cleveland. Cleveland's not going to be a walk in the park, no matter where they play. Cleveland's going to come in, led by Myles Garrett, and they're going to wreak some havoc in Baltimore. And Baltimore better be ready. Because if they thought that Ed Oliver caused them some harm, that monster that is Myles Garrett with his revamped interior defensive line, they still got good talent on the back end. They're going to be in for a lunch pail type of game, an AFC North type of game. I think this game is close. But I got a little more to say about week 1. I got something coming for Derrick Henry tomorrow, something about the defense specifically tomorrow, and then I'm going to close it out. I'm not even going to go to Thursday, like I said. I'm going to flush week 1, and I'm going to move on to week number 2. So stay tuned, man. Appreciate you guys whenever you watch it in the record or whether you watched it live. I'm your guy, Boulanger. This is the GM, and we out.